The Great Hall of the Galactic Senate was a place of power, a place where the fate of entire worlds was decided with a simple lift of a hand. Today, every seat was full, every species present, every translator active. The air was thick with tension. At the center of the hall, under a beam of bright light, stood Captain Marcus Hale of Earth. He was tall, calm, and completely still. Only his sharp gray eyes moved, studying every alien face that glared down at him. The Supreme Chancellor of the Senate, a towering insectoid with crystal-like armor, raised his clawed hand. Today, he said in a voice that echoed through the chamber, we vote on the matter of Earth. There was a low murmur from the crowd, some voices hissed, others clicked, some hummed in strange alien tones. They are a danger to the peace of the galaxy, the Chancellor continued. They are unpredictable, violent, and uncontrollable. He looked down at Hale as if speaking to a child who did not understand the rules. We will decide whether humanity will remain free, or become a controlled labor force. One by one, hands, claws, tendrils, and mechanical arms began to rise. Every single one of them voted the same way, to enslave Earth, to take away its freedom, to strip humanity of its ships, its weapons, its voice. The vote was not even close, it was unanimous. The decision was final. A roar of alien approval filled the hall. Some smiled, if their faces could smile, some hissed in triumph, others looked at Hale with cold, satisfied eyes. He did not speak, he did not protest, he only nodded once, slowly. Then he said in a calm, steady voice, as the representative of Earth, I will return home and inform my people. The Chancellor leaned forward, tell them they have 30 days to surrender. Captain Hale. Hale's lips curved into something that was not quite a smile. They will understand, he said, as H. Hale walked out of the Great Hall. Alien reporters shouted questions. They asked if Earth would resist, if it would fight, if it would beg for mercy. He ignored them. His footsteps were slow but deliberate. He boarded his diplomatic shuttle and gave a single order to his pilot, take us home. The shuttle left the Senate's orbital station and drifted into the deep black of space. Hale walked to the private comms chamber, sealed the door, and entered a code known only to the highest levels of Earth. Command. A holographic interface flickered to life. A voice on the other end said, this is home command, confirm identity. Hale, Marcus, Earth Ambassador, code 9-7, Delta. He replied, confirmed. The voice said, orders. Hale's tone never changed, activate protocol Revenant. There was silence on the line, then the voice answered, understood, initiating. The hologram blinked out. Hale leaned back in his chair and closed his eyes for a moment. He remembered the faces in the Senate, the arrogance, the certainty that they had already won. They thought they knew Earth, they thought they understood humanity, but they only knew the history written by others. They had never faced humanity when it had no choice but to fight, and now, they would learn. Far away, in the hidden vaults beneath the Himalayas, ancient machines began to wake. In the deep oceans, silent submarines stirred from the seabed where they had slept for decades. In the asteroid belt, mining stations turned out to be disguised weapons platforms, their cannons aligning with alien space lanes. Every hidden project, every secret ship, every forbidden weapon Earth had promised never to build, was being prepared. The world above remained calm. The news spoke only of political developments. Civilians continued their lives, but deep underground, the war had already begun. Back in the Senate Hall, the alien leaders congratulated themselves. They spoke of dividing Earth's land and resources. They argued about which species would take which continent. They laughed at the thought of humans working in their factories and mines. None of them noticed the faint unease in the room's corners. A few older races remembered whispers from the past, stories of human soldiers on forgotten battlefields, of planets that had burned in a single night, but they said nothing. Not yet. On the bridge of his shuttle, Hale stood by the viewport as Earth came into sight. Blue oceans, green continents, white clouds. It looked peaceful, harmless, exactly the way the Senate saw it. He let his hand rest on the glass. They think they own us already, he murmured. The pilot glanced at him. What do we do, sir? Hale's voice was quiet. We remind them who we are. In 30 days, the Senate expected Earth to surrender. In 30 days, they would send their fleets to collect their slaves. In 30 days, they would believe victory was theirs. But Hale knew the truth. The moment they voted to enslave Earth, they had already signed their own death warrant, and soon, they would understand what kind of mercy humanity was capable of. 30 days later, the alien fleet came. They arrived in waves, thousands of ships. Blocking the sunlight in parts of Earth's skies, the largest slave fleet in galactic history, each vessel painted with the mark of its empire, each captain certain they were here for an easy victory. From orbit, Earth looked quiet, no warships waiting, no defense grids active, cities glowed softly in the night, as if the planet had accepted its fate. On the flagship of the enslaver fleet, Supreme Admiral Zarthok laughed. Pathetic, he told his officers, they have chosen surrender without even trying. Drop ships broke away from the main fleet, diving into the atmosphere. They carried soldiers, chains, and control collars for the new labor force. The first units landed in New York, London, Beijing, and Johannesburg. But when the soldiers stepped out, they found something unexpected. The streets were empty, shops abandoned, homes silent, even the air felt wrong. It was too still. One commander ordered his troops to spread out. They entered buildings, searched basements, scanned rooftops. They found no one, no humans, no pets, no voices, just a strange, repeating hum echoing through the streets. The sound came from small devices left on every corner, each one shaped like a metal sphere, no larger than a fist. One soldier touched it. The device spoke, its voice perfectly clear in every alien language at once. You have one chance to leave alive. The soldiers laughed, some smashed the spheres, others recorded the message to mock later. The warning was ignored. They believed Earth had fled or was hiding in fear. They had no idea they were being watched. Far below their boots, deep under the city streets, human eyes followed every move, hidden cameras in street lamps, in traffic lights, in shattered windows. Every alien step was tracked, every weapon scanned. In an underground command center, General Sophia Kane stood before a massive display. She watched the red dots marking alien troops spreading through the cities. Let them get comfortable, she said. Beside her, a young officer asked, when do we start, ma'am? She smiled. When they believe they own us. In orbit, Admiral Zarthok ordered the next phase. Slave transports were sent down to gather specimens. Massive containment trucks rolled onto empty streets, but instead of humans, they collected nothing but silence and shadows. That was when the first disappearance happened. A squad of 10 alien soldiers vanished from a checkpoint in London. One moment they were on the comms, the next, nothing. No shots fired, no signs of struggle, only their weapons left behind, still powered on. At first, the fleet dismissed it as a communications glitch, until it happened again in Beijing, then in Johannesburg, then in 5 other cities at once. By the end of the day, 40 soldiers were gone, completely gone. Panic began to spread quietly among the lower ranks, but the commanders ordered silence. Fear was not allowed to show. That night, alien patrols heard strange noises echoing from alleys and subway tunnels. Some swore they saw shadows move against the wind, others claimed to hear human footsteps, but too many, moving too fast to count. In one sector, a patrol found words painted in bright red across a wall. The paint was still wet. It said, in perfect alien script, we are still here, above Earth. The fleet's orbital sensors detected massive heat signatures rising from underground. They were too large to be vehicles, too fast to be natural, but every attempt to scan deeper was blocked by some kind of interference. Zarthok demanded answers. His science officers told him they had never seen readings like this. It was as if the planet itself was moving. Meanwhile, in the hidden tunnels under Manhattan, General Kane received a signal from command. Phase 1 was complete. The enemy was spread thin, confused, and losing confidence. It was time to move to Phase 2. She turned to her officers. Release the hounds, she ordered. In the next hours, alien troops began to vanish in greater numbers. Not in silence this time. Screams echoed through empty streets. Gunfire lit the darkness. But when reinforcements arrived, they found nothing. No bodies, no gear, no blood, just more of those metal spheres, and each sphere played a new message. You should have left when you had the chance. By sunrise, over 1,000 alien soldiers were missing. The fleet still controlled the skies, but on the ground, the war had already begun, and it was a war the Senate had never imagined. From her command center, General Kane sent a single encrypted message to Captain Marcus Hale. They are in the trap. The alien fleet still floated above Earth like a wall of steel and fire. From space, they looked unshakable, but below, in the silent cities and abandoned streets, humanity's trap was ready. It began just before dawn over New York. A massive alien transport hovered low, carrying hundreds of soldiers meant to secure the city's central district. Its shadow swallowed entire Blocks from the flagship in orbit, Admiral Zarthok watched the live feed, confident this would be the start of Earth's collection. Then, without warning, the image froze, the sound cut to static, and when it returned, the transport was gone, not destroyed, not in pieces, just gone. The air where it had hovered shimmered faintly, like heat rising from a desert road. Then it was still. The bridge of the flagship erupted in confusion. Sensor crews reported nothing. No explosion, no debris, not even an energy spike. It was as if the ship had never existed. Zarthok slammed his clawed hand against the railing. Find it, he roared, but deep in Earth's crust, far below the city, the truth was already hidden away. The transport and every alien inside it now lay silent in a vast underground hangar, surrounded by human soldiers in black armor. General Sophia Kane walked through the hangar as engineers examined the captured craft. It had been taken intact, without a single shot fired. Impressive, a voice said behind her. She turned to see Captain Marcus Hale, freshly arrived from his diplomatic shuttle. They won't believe it, he said with a faint smile. Kane nodded. That's the point. In Beijing, something similar happened. An alien gunship chased what it thought was a fleeing civilian vehicle through the streets. It turned a corner, and never came out. Drones Moni, touring from above, caught only a flash of blue light. After that, the road was empty. Hours later, the same thing happened in Cairo, then in Sao Paulo, then in Johannesburg. Entire squads and vehicles gone. The alien soldiers who remained began whispering about Earth's ghosts. They spoke of shadows that moved faster than sight, of sudden drops in temperature before men vanished, of hearing footsteps just behind them, only to turn and find nothing. But their commanders called it panic. They said humans were untrained, weak, and desperate. They said the missing soldiers had deserted. That was when the next attack came. Over the Pacific Ocean, a battlecruiser detected a single human vessel approaching. It was small, outdated, slow. The alien captain laughed, calling it scrap metal. But as soon as they targeted it, the human ship vanished from sensors. Seconds later, it reappeared directly behind them. Before the alien crew could react, a beam of pure white light cut through the cruiser's engines like paper. The ship split in two and fell into the ocean, vanishing beneath the waves in a column of steam. From orbit, the destruction was clear to every alien commander. This was no accident, this was precision, and it was only the beginning. On the ground, alien squads began to find strange symbols painted on walls, carved into streets, burned into metal. They were old Earth war markings. Some showed a skull with wings, others a single burning eye. Few understood the meaning, but those who did remembered stories from the oldest battles in galactic history. Battles where human fleets had erased entire worlds in a single night. In the Senate's private network, messages began to leak. Other species were asking if they had made a mistake. Some suggested calling for negotiations, but the majority still believed Earth could be crushed with enough force. They would not hold that belief for long. In the hidden war room beneath the Himalayas, Kane and Hale stood before a massive display of the world. Red icons marked alien positions. Every W seconds, one disappeared. Phase 2 is almost complete, Kane reported. Hale's gaze was cold. They're scared now, he said. But fear isn't enough. Kane tilted her head. Then what's next? Hale answered, next, we make them understand. That night, a single human transmission was sent to every alien fleet, every occupied city, every listening station in the galaxy. It showed the captured alien transport in New York, perfectly intact. Its crew sat inside, alive but unmoving, their eyes covered with black visors. A human voice spoke over the image, calm and clear. You came here to put us in chains, it said. Instead, you have given us your soldiers, your ships, and your secrets. The image cut to black, then the voice returned, colder now. This is only the beginning. On every alien ship, silence followed. The arrogance that had filled their voices before the invasion was gone. Some would call for retreat, but others would try to strike back harder. Hale was counting on it, because the trap wasn't finished yet. The galaxy thought it had seen human war before, but that was history. Old battles told in dusty records. They believed humanity's armies had faded, their fleets dismantled, their weapons forgotten. They were wrong. The first full-scale space battle began over the Atlantic Ocean. A massive alien war fleet, led by Admiral Zarthok himself, descended from orbit to restore order. Hundreds of ships formed a wall of firepower, blocking Earth's sunlight. In the darkness below, the ocean seemed still. Then the water began to move. From beneath the waves, massive steel shadows rose, not ships, fortresses, sea platforms disguised as deep-sea mining rigs revealed their true form. Their armored walls opened like jaws, releasing sleek, black warships into the sky. The human vessels were smaller than the alien cruisers, slower on paper, weaker in raw firepower. But they moved like predators. In orbit, alien commanders watched the human ships rise into the black and form strange, uneven patterns. The formation made no sense, it was chaotic. Some ships flew straight toward the enemy, others drifted sideways, some even turned their backs. The alien fleet fired first, confident their numbers and power would crush this ragged defense, but the human ships vanished, not all at once, not cloaked, they simply moved in ways no alien pilot could predict. It was like fighting ghosts on the flagship. Zarthok roared orders, track them manually. Predict their trajectory. But the human ships didn't have a pattern. They looped around plasma bursts, slid between missile salvos, and even used enemy ships as shields, and when they struck hard. A single human destroyer dove straight toward a battleship 5 times its size. The alien crew laughed, thinking the humans had lost control. Then the destroyer's hull split open, revealing a massive rail cannon hidden inside. The weapon fired once. The alien battleship broke apart like glass. Elsewhere, 2 human frigates flew in opposite directions. The aliens chased one, believing the other was fleeing, but the second frigate turned sharply and fired a payload of guided charges that wrapped around the alien ships like chains. When the charges detonated, the enemy fleet tore itself apart. From the war room beneath the Himalayas, General Sophia Kane watched the live feed. Her officers cheered as alien ship after alien ship exploded. Captain Marcus Hale stood beside her, silent. This is just the warm-up, he said quietly. Kane nodded. The galaxy is watching, and they were. Across thousands of worlds, citizens tuned into intercepted battle footage. They saw the mighty Senate fleet, the fleet that had enslaved hundreds of planets, being hunted like prey. They saw alien ships reduced to debris in minutes. They saw the human ships circling their victims like sharks in dark water, and they began to whisper, maybe Earth wasn't the weak world they had been told. On the battlefield, the alien fleet broke formation, ships began to retreat, some didn't even ask for permission. They fled without orders. Zarthok screamed at them to hold the line, but his own flagship shuddered as its hull buckled under a coordinated strike from 3 human cruisers. In desperation, he ordered his ships to ram the humans, but each time they tried, the human vessels slid away at the last second, returning fire with merciless precision. Then the humans did something no one expected. They stopped firing. The alien ships floated in space, battered, broken, but alive. On every alien comm channel, a human voice spoke, calm and steady. This was a warning, it said. You have weapons, fleets, and empires. We have something you do not understand. There was a pause. We fight to win. The message ended. The alien survivors limped back toward the edge of Earth's orbit. Some dropped their weapons entirely, others powered down their engines, waiting for capture. In the Senate chambers across the galaxy, leaders who had voted to enslave Earth now sat in silence. The plan had been simple: crush Earth before it could resist. Now, it was clear they had underestimated not just humanity's weapons, but its will. In the war room, Hale turned to Kane. They'll regroup and try again, he said. Kane raised an eyebrow. Let them. Her tone was calm, but her eyes burned with something sharper than victory. The trap was only halfway closed, and soon, the galaxy would see the final teeth. The first empire to make its move against Earth was not just any empire, it was the Zorith Dominion, a civilization older than most stars. They had crushed rebellions for 10,000 years, burned worlds to ash, and ruled half the galaxy through fear. Their fleets were legendary, their admirals were undefeated, and now, they believed they would be the ones to finally put Earth in chains. From their throne world, the Zorith Emperor gave the order, no mercy, he commanded, no survivors. 1,000 of their largest warships began the journey to Sol, each one the size of a small moon, each armed with weapons that could split continents. The galaxy watched in silence. If anyone could destroy humanity, it was the Zorith. On Earth, the news reached the war room beneath the Himalayas. General Sophia Kane studied the incoming fleet's trajectory. They'll be here in 18 hours, she said. Her staff exchanged worried looks. The Zorith were not like the Senate scattered fleets. This was a hammer falling, but Captain Marcus Hale only leaned back in his chair, calm as ever. Perfect, he said, let's sharpen the blade. While the Zorith fleet closed in, strange signals began to echo through the Sol system. They were faint, almost whispers. The alien fleet dismissed them as interference, but in the dark between planets, things began to move. Old mining rigs on asteroids shifted position. Unmanned cargo haulers changed course. Long-dead satellites powered on, their eyes glowing red. 18 hours later, the Zorith fleet entered Earth's orbit. Their formation was perfect, every ship in exact alignment, weapons primed, shields raised from their lead dreadnought. Grand Admiral Vaith hailed Earth. His voice dripped with arrogance. "You have fought well for primitives," he said, "but your story ends now." No reply came. Vaith ordered the attack. 1,000 energy lances lit up the void. They struck Earth's upper atmosphere and vanished. The alien gunners stared in confusion. The readings showed their weapons had hit something before reaching the planet, something invisible. Then the trap closed. All around the Zorith fleet, space itself shimmered, and from that shimmer, thousands of objects appeared. Not human warships. Not exactly, they were satellites, drones, and weapon platforms, linked together in a massive web, a net made of light and steel. Before the Zorith could react, the web came alive. From every point, beams of coherent plasma and kinetic slugs tore into the alien ships. The precision was terrifying. Each shot hit a weak point. Engines went dark, shields collapsed, weapon systems fried. Within minutes, 100 Zorith warships were drifting helplessly. The rest tried to break formation. That was when the second wave hit. From the asteroid belt, disguised weapon stations fired gravity projectors. Invisible hands grabbed the alien ships and slammed them into each other. Some crumpled like paper, others spun out of control and vanished into deep space. Grand Admiral Vaith screamed for a retreat, but every jump drive failed. Earth's jamming field locked them in place. Human ships emerged from the web, small, sleek, and moving like predators among a herd. They didn't just fire, they hunted. In less than an hour, the Zorith fleet was gone, not destroyed in a chaotic battle, not worn down over days. Gone. Of the 1,000 ships that had arrived, only 12 limped away, carrying survivors back to the throne world. The rest were either captured or reduced to silent wreckage. On the Zorith capital, the Emperor received the news in silence. For the first time in centuries, the great throne room was quiet. His admirals avoided his gaze. His voice was low when he finally spoke. "Recall the fleets," he said. "The war with Earth is over, but for Earth, it was just beginning." The victory sent shockwaves through the galaxy. Worlds that had lived under Zorith rule for generations began to rise. Some declared independence, others sent secret messages to Earth, offering alliances. The Senate's chamber grew restless. The species that had voted for Earth's enslavement now saw what defiance had cost one of the galaxy's greatest powers. In the war room, Kane turned to Hale. "That was the strongest they had," she said. Hale shook his head. "No," he replied, "that was the loudest they had. The strongest still think they can win." Kane's lips curved into a dangerous smile. "Then let's prove them wrong." Word of the Zorith Dominion's fall spread faster than light. Across the galaxy, entire civilizations stopped breathing. The empire that had enslaved hundreds of worlds, gone in less than an hour. And the destroyer was not some ancient superpower. It was Earth, the planet the Senate had voted to chain like an animal. At first, the Senate tried to hide the truth. They claimed the Zorith had suffered a tactical setback, but images leaked, footage of the broken Zorith fleet, holologs of human ships moving like hunters through prey. The galaxy knew, and fear began to grow. Then, the messages started arriving at Earth Command. Some came from small, isolated worlds, desperate pleas for protection. Others came from powerful species that had once cheered Earth's enslavement. They sent envoys with gifts, fleets, rare metals, entire planets, offered in exchange for peace. Humanity took their offers, but not their trust. Captain Marcus Hale understood the game. They weren't surrendering out of loyalty, they were surrendering out of terror, and terror was useful. General Sophia Kane agreed, but she wanted more than fear. She wanted submission the galaxy would never forget, so she gave them an impossible demand. Every alien leader who had voted for Earth's enslavement would come to Earth. They would kneel in front of the United Human Council. They would apologize, not in private, but in a live broadcast to every corner of the galaxy. Some called the demand insulting, others called it humiliation, but none dared refuse. The first to arrive was the Chancellor of the VRYN coalition, once proud and unshakable, now trembling as he stepped into the council hall. Hale watched him drop to his knees. "Was wrong, Chancellor said, his voice shaking. "Ask for humanity's mercy." The words were repeated in dozens of alien tongues for the broadcast. Billions watched as the once mighty leader lowered his head to humans, one by one. They came, some wept, some raged in silence, some avoided eye contact, but all of them knelt. The galaxy saw it. The image burned into history, the day the enslavers bowed, but not everyone came in peace. Hidden among the envoys was a plan. One empire, the Calther Dominion, arrived. Smiling, they brought rare gifts, ancient artifacts, entire data vaults, but in secret, their war fleet was already hiding in the far side of the moon, waiting for the ceremony to begin before they struck. In the war room, Kane was already aware. Satellite feeds showed Calther ships creeping into position. Their engines were cold, their weapons powered down. They thought they were invisible. Hale leaned forward over the display. "Do we stop them now?" he asked. Kane shook her head. "Not yet." The day of the ceremony came. The council hall was filled with alien leaders, each awaiting their turn to kneel. Millions watched from across Earth, billions from across the galaxy. The Calther ambassador stepped forward. He was tall, silver-skinned, his eyes cold with hidden hatred. Just as he was about to speak, Kane gave the signal. In orbit, the Calther fleet lit up their weapons, and died in the same second. Human stealth ships, cloaked among the moon's shadows, fired surgical strikes. No explosions, no debris. The Calther vessels simply came apart, drifting in silence. The attack was over before the ambassador even realized it had begun. Kane's voice echoed in the hall. "For those still dreaming of victory against Earth," she said, "you will not live to see that dream fail." The Calther ambassador collapsed to his knees, not from ceremony, but from fear. Hale stepped forward. "This is the only mercy you will ever get," he told the gathered leaders, "and it is more than you deserve." From that day, no empire dared to hide fleets near Earth again. Some surrendered completely, giving up their homeworlds for human protection. Others dissolved their militaries, knowing any act of aggression would be met with annihilation. The galaxy had entered a new age, and humanity now stood at its center. But Hale knew it wasn't over. There were still factions that hated Earth, still whispers of rebellion in the shadows. And when those whispers became shouts, humanity would be ready. The galaxy had bent its knee to Earth. Empires surrendered fleets, kings bowed, warlords begged, but in the dark, one final enemy still waited. The Dravic Ascendancy, a shadow empire that had never joined the Senate, never voted, never shown its hand. They were assassins, infiltrators, masters of war, fought in silence, and they believed humanity's rise was a threat too great to ignore. While the galaxy celebrated its uneasy peace, Dravic agents moved quietly across Earth's outer colonies. Supply stations went dark. Listening posts fell silent. Ships vanished without distress calls. It was not an open war. It was a knife in the dark, and their goal was simple: kill Earth's leaders, cut the head from the beast. In the war room beneath the Himalayas, General Sophia Kane studied the pattern. "It's not random," she said, pointing at the red marks spreading across the map. "They're isolating us from the outer systems before they strike the core." Captain Marcus Hale leaned on the table. "Then let them come," he said. "And we'll make sure it's the last mistake they ever make." The trap began in orbit around Titan, one of Saturn's moons. A human supply fleet drifted there, seemingly undefended. In the darkness beyond, hundreds of Dravic warships waited, their black hulls invisible against the void. At the exact moment the Dravic commander gave the order to attack, every human ship went dark. No lights, no heat signatures, nothing. The Dravic moved in to strike, and that was when the stars themselves seemed to move. From the black, hundreds of human stealth cruisers emerged. They had been there the whole time, hidden under layers of optical camouflage. Before the Dravic could react, the human fleet fired, not with standard weapons, but with the new singularity lances, beams of pure gravitational force that bent space around their targets. Dravic ships twisted, crushed, and vanished into imploding points of light. On the ground, in the Dravic's hidden bases across Earth's colonies, silent alarms blared, doors sealed, power failed. From the shadows, human strike teams moved with lethal precision. No speeches, no warnings. Every Dravic agent found was captured or eliminated. Within a single hour, their network collapsed. But Kane wasn't done. The Dravic homeworld had always been a mystery, hidden deep in uncharted space. Using data ripped from captured agents, Earth found it: a black sun. A world of shadow cities and fortress moons. Hale stood before the War Council. "They came here to decide our fate," he said. "Now we decide theirs." The assault on the Dravik system lasted less than 30 minutes, human fleets cut through their defenses like paper, fortress moons cracked apart under focused orbital fire, the Dravik homeworld's shield fell, and Hale himself led the landing force on the steps of the Dravik High Citadel. Their leader, a tall, silver-eyed warlord, knelt in the ashes of his own city. "You are stronger than we believed," he admitted, his voice low. Hale's gaze was cold. "Strength had nothing to do with it," he said. "You attacked our people. The choice was made then. The Dravik could swear loyalty to Earth, or vanish from the galaxy. Most of their leaders chose survival. A few did not. Those who refused were gone before the day ended. Dead, their ships erased from the star maps. When the war was over, Kane addressed the galaxy in a single broadcast. Your vote to enslave us was your first mistake, she said. Your belief that we would beg for mercy was your second. She paused, her voice turning sharper. This is your third and final warning. Attack Earth, and you will not live to regret it. The galaxy listened, and for the first time in its long history, there was silence, not peace born from treaties or fear of another empire, but peace born from knowing that one world, one people, had the will and the power to end any threat. From the window of the United Human Council, Hale looked out at the night sky. Thousands of stars shimmered above. Once, those stars had been home to enemies. Now, they were a promise that humanity would never again be chained, and for those who forgot, the galaxy already knew what the answer would be.